Welcome to Transplants, a podcast featuring conversations with women thriving in new roots abroad. I'm your host, Laura Perucci, a Brazilian journalist calling NYC home for over a decade. Each episode, we unpack the transitions, culture shocks, setbacks, and joys of starting a new life in another country, so you can learn from their insights and make your own bold move. Because I truly believe real stories are the strongest way to spark real growth. Hi, and welcome back. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. I was debating if I should release new episodes during this time of the year, during the last 2 weeks of the year. And after thinking a little bit about it, and after considering an idea that my husband gave me, I decided to take this opportunity to publish a special episode, kind of like not reviewing, but like featuring some best moments of the episodes that I published so far. Not like the best, because there are so many best moments for each episode, in my opinion, but to kind of like highlight snaps from the conversations that could be really an inspiration for people that are listening to the episode, so we can set the tone for the new year, if you know what I mean. Like, I know that at this time of the year we are more like reflecting on what we did and our goals for 2026, and I guess that listening to it from people with inspiring stories and listening to their advice can be some inspiration, and that can click for you. So yeah, and maybe you have listened to all the episodes and you can just like, I had forgotten about what this woman said on this episode, or maybe you haven't listened to all the episodes and you can like, I'm interested in checking the full episode with this person. So that's how it's gonna be. I'm gonna introduce the guest, let you know who is gonna be the guest that I'm featuring, but I'm gonna follow like the order of publishing date, and you can also check the description for more details if you are looking like, oh, who is this person? What is the episode number for this person? You can check the description, okay? And of course, since it's holiday season, I just wanted to say thank you so much for being here, for listening to the show or watching on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, I am very, very proud of all the episodes that I published so far, and I'm very excited about the next ones. I have so many already recorded for the new year, and I'm excited to see like all the women that I'm gonna find, and I'm gonna bring it to my show and feature amazing stories, because this is what this show is about. It's about featuring real stories from real women, because I'm all about empowering women. Yeah, I always feel so inspired when I record these conversations, and that always it's good to remind myself like why I'm doing this, like at the end of the day, because I get inspired. I'm curious. Yeah, another day I was recording with this guest. Her episode is not live yet. I was just like mind blowing by the things that she was sharing with me. And I was like, that's why I do this. I thought to myself. So I'm publishing this one day before Christmas Eve. And next week, we're not going to have any new episodes, but we'll be back the following week on January 6th with new episodes of Transplants. And before we get started, just want to say, again, please follow us on Spotify if you're not following us there, or any platform that you use to listen or watch this episode. Meaning, if you are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe, thumbs up, and share this with someone who you think would be interested. And you can also subscribe to our newsletter, our Substack, so you can receive all the episodes in your inbox every week with highlights of the episodes. Like I always highlight the best quotes from the episode so you can like share and save to yourself as well. Our first highlight is from our episode number 1 with Adelia Aborizade. She's an American living in Mexico. She's a former public teacher that changed her entire life after her 40s. So this woman is such an inspiration. I'm probably going to repeat myself over this episode, but yeah, Adelia was amazing, and the feedback that I had about the conversation with her was also incredible. Our society tends to glorify youth, not just in looks, but in success. Like, by 30, you should have everything figured out. But you changed everything in your 40s. What did that feel like? And what do you want other women to know about that? Have you ever felt like, oh, I'm too old, there's no time to do this anymore, blah, blah, blah? Because a lot of people also think that way, and especially about moving abroad. People usually think that, oh, this is something that you should do in your 20s, like maybe going for studying abroad, but not after being married, having kids, potentially leaving your kids behind. I'm too old. No, I don't know. I don't speak the language, whatever. I don't think you felt like that but tell me a little bit
No,
about
you're
it.
right. A lot of people do feel that way. And I think for me, I'm still here. So there is still time. So I never necessarily felt like, am I too old to do this? Because my thing was, I didn't want to be on my deathbed thinking back to what I should have done or things I regretted not doing. So the fact that I was still here, I looked at it more as I'm lucky I'm still here. Since I am here, let me do these things I always wanted to do. I really believe that something magical happens when a woman turns 40 because a
Okay,
lot
that's so good to know because next year I'm 30-40.
I really believe so because your outlook on life changes. The crap you would put up with before, you absolutely have no tolerance for it and you don't feel bad about it. See, previously in your 20s and 30s, you would feel guilty, you'd feel bad. At 40, you don't care. And there's a freedom in that then allows you to make the choices that are best for you. I did. I blew my life up at 40 and decided however much time I had left, because we don't know how much time we have, that whatever time I had left, that I was going to use it doing the things that I wanted to do and living the way I wanted. So my age really is not something I think about now. Like, I have gray hair. I just turned 50. There's a day sightseeing and I walk 35,000 miles. And then I remember, oh yeah, you're 50. So you're going to be sore tomorrow. Outside of that sort of thing, I don't think about my age or what is appropriate for a specific age or what I should be doing. Because again, if you're still here, there is still time.
Next, we have Ambika Mathur. She's an American living in Italy. She moved there for love after she just decided to live her Emily in Paris adventure in Europe. And one thing led to the other. And one day she was in Italy and she met this guy that became her husband eventually. And she's now like building this amazing life in Naples. Marriage is like a huge step, is a serious decision. If you are living in the United States, it will be. But marrying someone, moving to another country, starting a new life, it's huge. So how did you cope? And what did your friends and family tell you when you said, like, I'm going to Napoli and I don't have a date to come back?
I think I was overconfident. I was like, "Oh yeah, it's gonna be a piece of cake. I've grown up traveling. I speak Spanish, so I'll pick up Italian easily, and I'm great with people, so I'll make friends easily. No problem." Oh, it was so hard. It was traumatic. My first year here was incredibly challenging, but my family and friends were amazing. Of course, they were like some of them were a little skeptical, like my sister and some of my best friends, like, okay, like be careful, like make sure you're not just getting love bombed. I understand, I appreciate the protectiveness. I would be the same way, but I have a good feeling about this. So I'm just gonna follow it. There was no other option. It was just something I had to do because if I didn't do it, then it would mean that we wouldn't be dating, our relationship would just end because we weren't just going to be doing long distance forever. Eventually, someone
Yeah,
has to make a move,
exactly.
and it's really the only way to see if we were good together. And I didn't want to just live with a what if. That's my biggest fear. I don't want to be dying when I'm old and thinking, what if I did that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I said, I gotta try it. And if it doesn't work out, California isn't going anywhere, so I can always come
Yeah.
back.
Next, we have Raquel Paiva. She's a good friend of mine. She's a Brazilian living in the United States. She came here as an au pair and she then pursued a career in fashion and she is now a fashion stylist and she has worked with celebrities and styled them for the amazing events. She's just like living the dream and I'm so proud of her. We already know that your plan was not staying in the United States, but 10, 11, 12 years later, you're still in the United States. So
14. It's gonna be 14 years this
14.
year.
Okay. Yeah.
Crazy.
I was lazy to do the math. But yeah, 14. 14 years later, you're still there. And I mean, at what point did New York City enter the picture? Like, what drew you to it? And how did you make that leap from wherever you were to life in the big city?
So New York City, I think, well, the first time I came to the city was already like, wow. If people believe like love at first sight, like I don't think I've ever had that, with a person. It's like literally like a cartoon if there is like a cupid and like the thing hits their heart. It was like me stepping my foot in New York City for the first time. And I do
I
believe
can
that is
relate to that so
that.
much because with me it was the same thing.
Exactly. I'm like, I don't know how to explain. Like, and I think it's the thing I talk a lot about that with traveling, and I think I don't know if it has to do with spirituality, with lives before, but there are certain places that I just feel really good at. And New York City is one of them. Since the first day I was here, I was just like, wow, but it was something so far from my reality. It just sounded so expensive to live here.
For context, where exactly were you located?
I was in Northeast Pennsylvania. And
Okay,
when I lived in New
just so
York with the
people
first
know that.
family, I was upstate New York. The first time I came here, I already fell in love with the city. I met a friend who was an au pair and she changed her visa to student and she was going to school here. I was like, wow, could I do that? But I was like, it might be expensive. I'm not sure. And then I heard about another girl that did the same thing, and she actually shared like her college and how much she was paying. And I was just looking at it, looking at the numbers, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I can do that. Maybe I can live in New York City and go to college here and start saving money, all my little money from what I did in the au pair program, and found a roommate. Actually, found three roommates. Lived in a one-bedroom apartment with four people, which was amazing.
One bedroom apartment with 4 people?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Oh my
Yes.
God. Yeah, there are things only New York can do for you, right?
It's funny to look back. That just felt like the first little step to be where I am today. Like I used to dream of
Mm-hmm.
back then, like my day to day, I was dreaming about here right now. So it feels really amazing to be here. But also looking back, I am so grateful for those times because I had so much fun. It was, that it's like Miley Cyrus song, it's The Climb. Like those moments that, when you're dreaming and you're like working, that's also when the magic
Mm-hmm.
happens.
How do you think that did the city change you? Like, was there a moment when you realized I'm not the same person who arrived here anymore?
Oh my God, I'm like, that's a lot. I changed so much. It's funny because now I'm like in the process of realizing that more than because as I was changing, I didn't see that much. But now looking back, I'm like, wow, I changed so much. Well, I think it's both, right? I think moving to a different country and then in New York City in general. So I think the city it definitely I think there's something about New York City is that I feel like you can be whoever you wanna be here. That is like a strong sense of freedom. Because you go outside, there is so much diversity. You see people from every background, every race, every, sexuality, gender. I love that about the city. Also, I work in fashion, and that's another thing that you can dress however you want, you can express yourself however you want. So I definitely felt like being a gay woman in Brazil very young and I was raised very religious, that was something that I always felt it was hard to come out. For example, I always felt like I had to hide. And in New York City, that
Mm-hmm.
was also the part of being away from my family and I was closeted and my family, I just felt like my family is not gonna find out if I go to a gay bar here or if I'm walking around holding hands with my girlfriend. So there was a lot of freedom in that sense of like exploring who I am and my sexuality and embracing that. And then I think that just, a lot of cultural things changed too, of understanding how the US works and how the city works. Because, in Brazil, we're so warm and we hug and we kiss and we talk so
Yeah.
much. And, moving here, I felt like I had to change myself so much to fit in because I didn't want to feel like the outsider. And now as I'm getting older, now in my 30s, I was just having a conversation with a friend about that. I'm trying to go back to who I was before and embrace the Brazilian part of me. And, if I want to talk to people and they don't want to talk to me, too bad. But I will talk to them, you know what I mean? Because that's who I am. And I miss that part of me.
Mm-hmm. Aisha Ba, she's a model, content creator, dancer, and immigrant mom living in South Korea. She grew up in South Tyrol, a region in Italy that once belonged to Austria. How she went from pursuing a PhD in economics to chase her dream of being a dancer. I know that you were a model, a dancer, right? I don't know if you're still dancing, content creator on top of being an immigrant, mom, and wife. This is your life today. It wasn't always like that. So I wanted to hear how was your like professional life before this life that you have right now? Because it was not related to this at all. So like you're studying economics and pursuing a PhD in Austria, like totally different. So how did you choose that field originally, like studying economics, and what happened along the way that made you realize like it's not that I don't want this for my life?
Yeah, you're totally correct. Like before coming to Korea and becoming like a professional model, like full-time model, dancer, and content creator, I was actually I was living partly in Austria and partly in my hometown. It's not very far away. It's just like 1.5 hours by train.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked, like the last thing I did before moving out of my country was half of the week I was working in my hometown as a researcher, economic researcher at the research institute.
Mm-hmm.
And the other half of the week I went to Austria and I was doing my PhD, like researching on my PhD topic. And I was also teaching mathematics for the undergrads. So yeah, it was very different. It was very like why I chose this path was, of course, I was very interested in economics
Mm-hmm.
and I really liked the topic because I'm a very rational person. So I really like doing analytics and statistics in general. But I think also a
Okay.
main part has to do with the fact that I wanted to prove that people with like a different cultural background, where like I'm from, usually people, how to say, immigrants are always seen as like, uneducated and, poor and stuff like this. So I
Uh-huh.
just wanted to prove myself and show that I can do this all as well. So I think that was the
Okay.
main number one reason why I actually wanted to push through.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I also wanted to make my family proud because education was always one of the most important things that you can achieve in life. So, and it's still important. So I'm not saying that it's not important, but I think that has also to do with the fact why, in the end, I chose to change my path because I realized I wanted to do more stuff for myself. So, which is why I took 1 year off first, and I wanted to pursue dancing professionally. I always liked
Mm-hmm.
to dance, like as a hobby. And so I just wanted to give it a try. And so that's why I started with this, and then things continued.
Then we have Carolina Malis, and she moved to New York City because a friend just passed by her house and said, "Hey, we're going to New York. You should come." And she was like, "Yeah, why not?" And she stayed for like a decade. But that didn't end there. She's now living in London. And yes, you have to listen to the episode to learn how she went there. But it was such an amazing conversation with Carol. You worked in communications, marketing, you wrote, so a lot of things that demand you, I mean, besides from like speaking, but like using your skills in English. I guess, like, how did you get to the point when you feel like more comfortable and confident writing in English? That's a challenge for a lot of people living abroad. I know that perhaps a lot of people that are listening to us that also like have to speak English, and English is not their first language. A lot of the challenges and the insecurities are around like speaking, but
Yeah.
like when you work in communication, in marketing, writing is like big part of that, of your
Yeah.
skills. And I say that because I, for a long time, I didn't feel like confident to write anything in English. I was like, oh my god, I don't know grammar, I don't know anything. And until I got to a grammar workshop, most of the people in the grammar workshop were Americans. And I was like, yeah, I mean, not all Brazilians know the grammar in Portuguese as well. So I guess I'm not
Yeah.
that bad. So, but I'm wondering, like, if you had that imposter syndrome, and how did you see? It's the English. It's not working. But how did
Sometimes
you
it just, yeah.
how did you make it?
It's funny because you were saying that, and actually it reminds me that like when I was applying for the visa for the UK, I had to go through a lot of my emails from the past in New York, like because I had to talk about the visas that I've had before. So I had to do a whole story, basically like a biography of my life in New York in order to apply to the visa here. And I remember going through emails from my very first year, and I read these emails and I was like, wait, like this is not well said. Like I mean, it's correct, but this is not the way I speak. Words that I put together that don't go together. And it's crazy because I saw those emails and I was like, I don't know. I don't realize at one point it became better when it became my voice. And when I, like the thing that we said before, the stopping translating in your head, which at the beginning was still happening. And this applies for so many things in life. It's doing it. I think you can read 100 books, you can do all the classes, you can try to learn in every single way all the perfect things about a language in particular, but there's no way to do it unless you actually do it. Like the actually immersing yourself in the talk, the actually making the mistakes, which is like, I know that it's a cliche that like that you have to make the mistakes to learn, but you actually, for a language, you have to make the mistakes, because once you make them is that you realize, oh, that's not how you say this. So
Yeah.
you fix it, you change it, or it happens so many times. I mean, like it still happens, not a lot, but it happens. And I think it's always a reminder that this is my second language for starters, so it's okay that I make mistakes. But the only way that I got to the point is by actually constantly talking. What helped like not be so insecure about it anymore, especially in the US. When I was living in the US and I was like, oh, like I'm gonna talk to someone that they speak English because of course they're native, so they know their language, so they know that I'm making mistakes. And you're wondering like, do they know? Are they gonna tell me? Are they gonna just keep it to themselves? It's all these things that you go through. But I love to think about this sentence that I read on Instagram once. We are speaking English because that's the language that you speak, because you can speak English. I speak English because you speak English. You know, like this person is speaking English because that's what they can do. I speak English because that's what you can do, but I actually can speak more languages. And I think once you realize that what you're doing is actually amazing, the fact that you can switch languages to talk to these people that cannot communicate with you if you switch your language, you realize that you have a little bit of a superpower. Like, even if I make the mistake, I can communicate with them. I can talk to them. And one, if they think that, I don't know, if they laugh about the mistakes or if they make any kind of comment or mock, I mean, that says so much about you as a person.
And then we have Milena Berry. She's originally from Bulgaria. Oh my God, sometimes it's so hard to pronounce some names and I don't know why. And she lives now in the United States. And when she responded to my email, I was just like, this woman actually responded to me because she's a CEO and she came here to study. And yeah, she's a woman in tech and she has an amazing journey as well. And sometimes women don't feel like confident enough to go after promotions or leadership roles. And I guess for immigrant women, sometimes that is even worse. Like I've seen like in my circle, like friends or people that I know that they have like great resumes, they have the skills, they were like amazing people working, let's say back in Brazil, but they feel like they're not confident enough to go after what they want, or they feel like my English is not good enough, or my resume is not good enough because my experiences are not my work experiences are based in another country. So yeah, you have a lot to deal with when you move to another country, and your confidence, especially in a city like New York, right? So what would you say to immigrant women that feel that way, like especially like in your position with all the things that you conquered? So you show that it's possible. So what did you say? How do you push through that? Have you ever felt that way during your journey because of your background or because you're a woman?
I mean, for sure, I felt like the imposter syndrome is real. I definitely think I experienced that while doing the CTO job at a boss. And part of it is because how I got it as well. But, it's definitely like I never felt like good enough for it. And I think the same type of, listen, I'm a great CEO. I'm so proud of what my company has done and our impact over 11 years and the brands we've worked with. And it's just the whole thing. Like there's so much that I've done right. But at the same time, I still struggle with this imposter syndrome of a first-time CEO. And so I think that imposter syndrome is perhaps stronger for us immigrants. And then you sometimes get into the whole thing of like just the practicalities of working, right? Like navigating legal work in the US is so hard that, again, like a lot of immigrants put up with unreasonable workloads in illegal work because they try to prove themselves and find a route to being legal as well. And so I think, and then when you have an employer who finds kind of a recent immigrant and pays very little, right, as a strategy, they're kind of waiting for them to quickly leave for something that's going to pay them better. So you definitely accept less pay. You also, your resume looks worse. Like I remember like that job that I ended up being the manual tester for, graduates from our program got the Java developer roles there. But they all had like their, permanent residency. They had their papers, they had everything, done right for them. And so they could get this better job that paid benefits and whatever, health insurance. And I had to go and take the contractor job that paid barely enough to pay the rent, right? So there's obstacles everywhere, but the question is, don't focus on the obstacles. Just focus on putting one foot in front of the other, and then things end up working out. Again, I count myself very lucky. I feel like I've been very lucky, very privileged, and so there's some amount of luck involved as well, for sure.
Then we have Kimberly Ain. She's an American living in Portugal, and she changed her life also, like in an age that a lot of people think that you cannot do anything else, in her 50s. And she moved to Portugal on a budget. And yes, Kim was also an amazing guest. I had such an amazing time talking to her. Okay, so for whoever is listening to this podcast, maybe they are thinking like, wow, she started over by like she divorced by 36, and then she traveled United States, she moved to another country, but you did a lot of other things. You went after a master degree when you were in your 40s, and you learned trapeze. I mean, girl, how is that? When I say that, like in your 40s, like after 35, I like to highlight that because people often think that, oh, I didn't achieve anything by my 30-something. I don't have anything else to do. And it's not true. I love to hear stories like your story. Did that age thing ever cross your mind when you're making the decisions to pursue these new things, even like for your master's degree or learning trapeze or move to another country? And if I think it was not the case for you, but if so, how did you overcome that feeling?
It didn't stop me. So in my 40s, I wrote and published 20 novels, went back to school, got my master's degree in traditional Chinese medicine and became an acupuncturist and started trapeze. Yes, all in my 40s. The age thing didn't really cross my mind or didn't have a big impact on my life until I was in my 50s. And even my early 50s, no. Now I think about things. The way it's been is if you move to Portugal and you do a couple things that they want you to do, the government wants you to do, then you can get your citizenship after 5 years. So now there's a new government. It's super right-wing, unfortunately, and they have changed it to maybe not even accessible to get your citizenship here at all. I'm thinking, well, do I start over in Spain? Because the path to citizenship in Spain is 10 years. Well, that's another 10 years. I'll be almost 70 by that time. So now, probably until this year, age did not come into play in my life. In my mind. In my life, yes. In my mind, no. And now it is. But I remember hearing something years ago, and it still holds true. You're going to be 70 one day anyway. Do you want to be 70 and have your EU citizenship? Or do you want to be 70 and be right where you are now? Or wherever that may be, right? So it's the same thing with every age. You're going to be 40. Do you want to be 40 and be doing just what you're doing now? Or do you want to be 40 and have a master's degree or a PhD or whatever you want? And I remember hearing that early on in my life, and it really took that to heart. So I think maybe that's why I've been a little bit blinders on. Like, I remember when I was in trapeze and I started in my 40s, there was a woman in her 60s. And we're not doing it to be professionals, obviously. We're just doing it for fun. And I went back a couple weekends ago to I have a friend who we work out together, and she told me about a trapeze school here in Portugal. And it's complicated. It's one of the reasons I actually moved to Porto, but I didn't like the one that I went to. So I stopped going. Well, then I broke my fingers. Long story. But I went to this one that's close to me, and I'm going again this Saturday. But starting over, I will never be where I was because I am 15 years older than I was when I started. Age does come into play, but it doesn't mean that I can't do what I can do as much as I can do or have fun or whatever I need to get out of it. So yeah, I would just tell other people, like, that exact advice. Like, you're going to be that age anyway. Might as well be that age and have accomplished something.
Then we have Gabriela Dutra, and I think the episode with her was the most played so far on Spotify among my episodes. She's a Brazilian living in Thailand, and she left her dream job to travel the world, and then she met her boyfriend, and they got married, and now they settled in Thailand. And wow, she shares so many amazing things about being a woman traveling by herself and just doing the things that she wanted to do and being independent and trying and then finding love and also keep doing the things that she wanted to do even when you are in a relationship. So it's a good one.
What I wanted to talk to you about is the fact that more people need to know that being in a relationship doesn't mean letting your individuality aside. Why is that so important? And what's your message for women who think that marriage or even a relationship has to mean losing yourself?
I think we were kind of like raised for that. I feel like in a lot of moments, our partners are not even asking us to change, but we kind of change because we feel like we're supposed to. I grew up saying, like, I'm going to be a single girl forever. Like, I'm going to have a lot of relationships, but I'm not going to be the person that is going to like deeply commit with someone to someone because I want to be, I want to be myself. I want to be like my grandma or whatever. Of course, obviously, like Freud can explain that. My parents are divorced since I was like 9. So, of course, I grew up seeing my mom like an independent woman, like solo. So that was like what I wanted to go for. I was able to like break up with this idea whenever I found someone that was not going to like cut my wings, like someone that was going to like support me no matter what. Antonio is a very wise person, and his big pillar, it's like relationship. Like, he's very good in relationship with people in general. Like, he understands what's behind, why people are acting like that. And he was always very supportive about that. Like, yeah, you have to do your solo trips. You have to do this and that alone and whatever. And sometimes I get myself like pleasing somehow or explaining some stuff that he never asked me to. And then sometimes like he tells me, he is always like, Gabby, but like, are you feeling a little bit trapped or something? Like, go travel alone. You remember that's what you like to do. So go. Like, it's so he reminds me of that sometimes. Being in a relationship that like really allows me to be my solo version, like 100%, reminds me of this thing that like sometimes we just do that. We just like kind of adapt, right? Like we stop like following our dreams because what if our partner gets sad because whatever, or you have your own dreams, and it's not because you're like with someone that you should do everything together and like you don't have the pleasure on your own company or something. Also because you never know whenever things are going to change, like whenever like something could change, something could happen somehow, like maybe one day you're gonna be alone, and then what, like then that's hell, like because you don't know how to be with yourself. This is like one of the keys. Even like we like get stuck in so many like super toxic relationships somehow because we feel like we need the other, right? Like we don't know how to be alone. It's better with them than without them, right? So I feel like we grew up like hearing this kind of story, this kind of like this speech like just makes sense to us, and we're like, it's okay if you're in a relationship that you're always like just changing yourself a little bit, right? And at some point you don't recognize yourself anymore. I think it's a lot of like therapy and like very important to always have like open conversation with your partner.
Then we have Aneri Desai. She's an Indian living here in the United States. Aneri, wow, she was so generous opening up about her story. She moved here to study, and she also got married. It was an arranged marriage that she was able to walk away eventually because it was a toxic relationship. So we talk a lot about empowerment, and yeah, this woman, she's incredible.
What advice do you give to immigrant women that are listening to this podcast right now, especially those that are feeling stuck or defeated, like you felt one day, and they are like job hunting and they don't feel that they're enough? What do you want them to know? What's the message you wish someone had told you back then?
First of all, you are enough. Your visa status, your salary, your degree, they don't define you. You are enough and you are your own person. So one thing I want to tell every immigrant woman is not tying their self-worth to a person they're married to or how much money they are making, because look at my story, it keeps getting better. You just need to bet on yourself. So don't tie your self-worth to any other individual. It's harsh, but people come and go. You are on your team, so that's one thing. And so you are enough and your story matter. The fact, like the reason I got my first job in Fortune 500 company is my global exposure. Like the hiring manager celebrated in every interview round I walked into my UK internships, my US internships, and my Indian internships. So no matter what you are bringing to the table, you are enough. You need to be on your team. Are you going to hire yourself? Until keep working on yourself until that answer is yes, that yes, I would hire myself. That's my first advice. And then my second advice is, this is kind of controversial, but I learned it hard way, that no matter how rich your family is, or how secure you are in your marriage, you need to be financially independent. Do it for hobby, do it part-time, work 1 hour freelancing, consulting work, do something. If you are a stay-at-home mom or you stay at home and do the house chores, start charging for that from your spouse. But you need to have money coming in your bank account and you need to have access to that bank account. So many immigrant women will tell me, the people I work with, they make 6 figures sometimes, but they don't have access to bank account. They don't have decision-making power, how to invest, what selection to make for their 401k. Having access to your money and being able to make decision on how to invest or how to use this money is equally important. So my overarching message for every immigrant woman listening to us right now is, do something to make money, even if it's $10 an hour. You need to have money coming in your bank account from anyway. Make investment decisions. Being financially independent changes you and changes your voice and gives you power to talk. Like that's how I look at financial independence. It just gives you voice and opinion about things. So
then we have Fernanda Santos. She's a Brazilian living in the United States. She's a journalist, and she, you know, the old story. She moved here to study, stay here for a year or so, and then she will get back to Brazil. But then she met her husband. Yeah, and the rest, you have to check the episode.
If you had one message for all the immigrant women listen to us, or maybe women that are not immigrating as well, that are navigating life, career, love abroad, perhaps I know there are a lot of moms as well, sometimes like single moms.
Mm-hmm.
What would be your advice?
Don't ever let anybody define you. Don't let all these labels you said, you know, if we have immigrants, it's almost like they're separate groups, right? Or single moms, or people who lost, or widows, or this. We can be and. I am a bunch of ands, you know. We are all a lot of ands. I am an immigrant and an American and a widow and a mother, and I'm in love, and I'm a professor, and I'm a journalist. I am so many things, which is all the collection of these things is what makes me who I am, rather than be so attached to, oh, I'm an immigrant, therefore in this country, a woman immigrant, therefore in this country, you know, the opportunities for me are fewer. Factually speaking, yes. If that's the inner conversation you're having, it's never going to help you advance. So it's more about, yes, and what am I going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? Like, there comes a point that you have to just keep going. And a lot of times we limit ourselves because we get too attached by the way other people define us. And we think that we have to live by their expectations. The greatest expectations we have to live by are those set by us. And mine, for example, are to accept the days that I'm not entirely great at what I do, or the days that I wake up in a bad mood, or the days that, I had one plan and things turned out differently, or the days that I actually do things really awesomely. That's one of the reasons I love surfing, because I feel like it's a constant reminder that it does not matter. You may surf an awesome wave. Pop up, you're surfing, you're like, oh my gosh, I got this. And then you come back and the next wave, you wipe out, you're underwater, out of breath. And you were thinking, wow, I just thought I had finally gotten this and I knew how to do this thing. And here's the ocean, nature telling you, like, you're never going to be perfect. So just embrace it. John, who he surfs and we've talked about it, like when you wipe out, go like a rag doll under the ocean. Just let the wave shake you. And it's like, sometimes you just have to let life shake you. And then ask yourself, and now what are you going to do about it? Are you going to paddle back in, surf another wave, or are you just going to head back and it's fine if you want to head back to the sand and just suntan. It's also good.
Next, I have Karen Busson. She is an American living in France, in Paris, and her dream was actually move to New York City, which she did eventually. She's from Ohio, and she thought she would die here. She would live her entire life here. But then, because of her love for the French language, she would spend a lot of time in Paris, and in one of these opportunities, she met her husband through a dating app. But she downloaded the app to actually practice French. And she has been doing so many amazing things during her journey, building a new life in Paris.
How did you put yourself out there? And what's your best advice for women that are feeling constrained, living in another country?
I have always been a person, I think because of the way I grew up, we moved around a lot. So I'm not afraid of risk taking. And that is probably the greatest gift that my mother ever gave me, unintentionally. But, in moving me around so much, I became very flexible and adaptable. My interest in something is greater than my fear of doing it. And so, one thing for me is that I decided when I moved here that I was going to really integrate myself into French society. Of course, I have my fabulous American friends here who I adore and I spend a lot of time with. But I also said it's very important to me to make some French friends, to also be not just in a couple all the time and only meet people through my husband or only do things with him. I want a French life that is also independent of our relationship. It includes him, but I make it, I create it.
Yes.
And so that's why I joined the running club. And of course, I've always loved to run. So that was a natural. And I think another important thing for me is that I chose, now granted, I had a level of French when I moved here, but I chose to do my whole life in French. I do not speak to a French person in English at any time for any reason. Even if I don't know how to say a word or a phrase, I will use the French that I have to explain to them. I made that commitment to myself because otherwise it's too easy to slip that. First of all, I give myself a lot of respect for trying that. And I get a lot of respect from others.
Yeah.
And I screw up a lot, but still, they respect the fight. I'm in there. I'm doing it. The best thing you can do if you are in a foreign country is to find an organized group of people, like an international expat group, or a group if you're from Canada or America or whatever, wherever you're from, find a group of people who are living here. That's not fully integrating yourself into the society, but it's a little bridge. And they're going to know a lot of people and they're going to have resources for you. So if you need an immigration lawyer, you can ask that person. You need someone who's going to help you buy an apartment. They know people who sell apartments, and you can also have people to, commiserate with. If you're feeling down, you can talk to them. You can be like, you know what, this sucks today. I'm having a hard time, and they will understand. So I think that's your base. If you're moving someplace like Paris, I guarantee you know people who know people in Paris. You ask them to introduce you to the most interesting people that they know in Paris. And that has been a game changer for me. I have met people who are just now my very good friends who are incredible women. You follow your interests. People are saying oh, how do I meet a guy? How do I meet friends? Whatever. Do something you like to do. Because if you're doing something you like to do, then it doesn't matter. If you meet someone doing it, you've already won. And then probably the other people there who are doing the same thing you like to do, you may have something in common with them,
Yeah.
It is just putting yourself out there. What do you honestly have to lose?
Yeah, exactly.
Here you
Nothing.
are. if you're going to go so far as to move to a foreign country, you can already say that you are a bold and awesome woman. And then let that lead you forward into whatever the hell you want to do.
Next, we have Celia Alves. Celia is from Portugal and she lives in Canada. And this woman, oh my God, such an amazing story. The way that they overcame all the difficulties with the immigration in Canada when they were told they had to leave the country, and how Celia was a fighter, just like refusing to leave and finding options to stay. And then she reinvented herself with a new career in Excel. Yeah, Microsoft Excel. You have to listen to that one. You were studying, you're working half time, you're away from your husband, so you have to take care of all these things by yourself. Also dealing with all this immigration stuff, which like if you are listening and you never deal with that, lucky you, because
stay where you are.
It's so time consuming. It's like another job. What were you telling yourself in the days that you felt like I cannot do this anymore? How you kept going?
It was all a matter, and it's easy to say now, putting one foot in front of the other. There's an expression I heard from a Brazilian guy a while ago that goes something like, I would, it even gets me emotional, I would put the foot ahead and God would place the floor beneath it. Just move on, one step after the other. I remember one time when this first, let me just grab a tissue.
Yeah.
I remember one time when this first thing happened with us getting denied the renewal of the permit. Someone got us a lawyer friend that we could speak to and try to understand what our options were. And we gave him a paper sheet with a number of things facts that we thought were relevant for him to know. And after a while, when he realized that we may not have the money to pay his fees, the fees that he wanted to charge us, he just gave us the paper back and said, "I'm not going to be able to help you."
That's so devastating.
I went home and all I could do was go to bed and sleep. This was my strategy and still is sometimes to deal with stress. For me, it works like that. If I go and sleep for a while, I just gives my brain time to just recover and to get new thoughts and get new energy, and
like taking a little step back and get the full picture and it's like when you are drowning in the water and you go to the surface and you get some air, right? So
absolutely. There were days where we were just busy dealing with whatever we needed to deal with kids and school and jobs and work and surviving. In immigration and many other things in life, when you want to do something, you cannot be waiting to, although we do that. We take the step, we make a decision when we think we have everything under control and that we have all the way figured out and we have all the process figured out. But then life just happens in so many ways. It could be something personal, it could be something related to the immigration process. Things happen, and so then you need to deal with it. So if the program that someone is applying to seems too overwhelming, but the person is still interested in trying this for their lives, just know that you need to take one step at a time. Do not worry too much. At least this was my strategy. I cannot advise people not to worry or not to plan. But this was what worked for me was to deal with what I had to deal with at that time. Be prepared for what was coming next, or what I thought was coming next, as much as possible. But over time, I learned that we are never prepared for everything. Some things will happen. So
yeah. Next, I have Kayla Karuski. Kayla is originally from Canada and she lives in Thailand, and she's in the process to move to Spain. Kayla moved abroad when she was really, really young. She has been living abroad for 2 decades and she has been through a lot during this time. Actually, she realized that paradise is not paradise anymore, and that's why they're moving to Spain. Yeah, and Kayla shares so many incredible insights.
So what keeps you motivated these days? And what's the best piece of advice you give to someone who wants to be an entrepreneur while living abroad?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a question I get asked a lot, like, how do I keep going? And I often wonder to myself how I do it too. I do naturally have a lot of drive. I've always been a very driven and determined person. I think it's that I have this vision, and I think the vision also keeps kind of shifting, but it's so clear to me what it is right now, and I'm not there yet. And so, and I think that also maybe I am where I wanted to be 5 years ago. So like it also just keeps evolving. But it's I can just see it so clearly, and I just want to get there like tomorrow. But I know that it'll take me like 5 years or whatever. But so I just have gotten really good at routine and systems, and I think also because I've had so many failures and I've recovered from so many failures, I've gotten better at that. I've gotten really good at failing. I guess I've gotten better at bouncing back every time. I think that I do like to spend a bit of time feeling sorry for myself, but ultimately, I'm not ever going to achieve my dreams by feeling sorry for myself. So usually after a bit, I kind of lick my wounds and just get back on it, you know, and ideally learning the lessons from whatever failure I had. Or maybe it wasn't a failure. Maybe I just needed to pivot, which is what's happened at times. And I'm also just like, I think I enjoy reinvention as well. That's made the process a little bit more palatable for me. That's me. But what advice would I have for entrepreneurs starting a business abroad? I mean, look, saying believe in yourself is really cliche and boring, but I've only just started really understanding what it means to believe in yourself. And it's not as simple as like just, you know, meditating in the morning and telling yourself you're awesome. It's really, really deep down in your bones, believing that what you have to say and your ideas are worthwhile.
Next, I have Olga Kudrycki. She's originally from Lithuania and she lives in the United States. And I love my conversation with Olga because I guess life is not about having everything figured out. Sometimes you'll be in this position where you don't know the next step you're trying to discover, and Olga is kind of in this stage in her life right now, and it was amazing to hear more about her story and everything that she has done so far and how she's excited about the future.
I guess a lot of immigrant women, especially moms, can relate to your feeling. Like, I would love to, if you could talk a little bit more about that and how are you working towards that, you know, to get out of this state, because it's really hard. So what are you doing to like not feel that way? And what do you do when you are feeling that way? And what is the advice that you give to other moms?
And Laura, I'm actually going to use what you said last time when we spoke. You said, and that's exactly the answer, you just have to say yes, right, to things now. And which is so true, because I just literally put myself out and like more than I used to. When I go to my Pilates studio, for instance, right, as I mentioned, they're all like 20-year-old, they're all looking perfect. So it's a little bit harder, but I still make an effort. I still smile, I'm still hi. I try to make a small talk. On a few occasions, I've actually exchanged the numbers with some of the girls over there, so we kind of keep in touch. Then a couple of weeks ago, we had a communal event in our building. We had yoga event on the rooftop. I'm going to say yes, I'm going to go do it. And I met this amazing lady then. We just, you know, we'd meeting up every day for a coffee in the lounge and we're chatting. And you have to step out of your comfort zone, because we're so used to, like, I've been in London, I had my circle of friends. I didn't have to think, oh, how can I make new friends? And now when I came here, the first few months were like, Dad, I'm on my own in the house. Daughter is at school. Husband is at the office. But it is horrible. It's difficult and you don't know anyone. But as soon as you start saying yes and make an effort, so start the conversation, even if it feels a little bit uncomfortable. It's easier for me because I'm very extroverted. I guess if I was more introverted, it would have been harder because you're not going to go first. Things like meetups, kind of like we had like communal events, I try to attend all of them now, and I just smile at people a lot as well. Probably they think I'm crazy. Mom was like, hi, how are you? Try to make it as a small talk. And as a mom, it's a bit easier because you have kids. And if you find another mom with a similar age kid, there's always something in common. But always the weirdest part for me, so the kids are playing. I'm like, do you want to exchange the numbers? Like, this is the hardest bit because I feel like it's a bit weird asking for someone's number. But I've noticed everyone always wants to. They want to make a friend as well.
And finally, I have Marion Miller. She's originally from Switzerland. She lives in Singapore. And this girl, like, is the definition of plot twist because she thought she would be living in Switzerland forever, like raising kids, like having her family there, adopting a dog. And then her boyfriend got a job offer to move to Singapore, and they went there for a 2-year adventure. And at the end of the day, he didn't like it, but she fell in love with the place, and she ended the relationship, not because of Singapore, for other reasons. And she found a way to stay in Singapore by herself. Talk about a bold woman.
Many people struggle letting go of a degree or a previous identity. How did you avoid feeling boxed in by your identity from the past?
How did I avoid feeling boxed? I think it's really in finding inner confidence, in finding or realizing, you know what? If you want to please everyone, you're not going to please anyone at all. And at the end of the day, you are the one to please. And everyone who's supporting you is your true friend, and everyone who's not doesn't deserve to be part of your life. And there will always be haters and always be people who do not like what you do. So you know what? You can do whatever you want. Anyway.
I hope you guys liked this episode with this special edition with lots of inspiration from these amazing women. And maybe you can go back and listen to another episode again, or maybe you have missed some of these episodes, and you can now take this opportunity to listen and get to know these amazing women. Don't forget that for every episode I linked their social media or their websites, all their relevant links. So if you want to connect with these women, just check the description for each episode and you can connect with them. Please make sure to mention that you listen to the episode. It's important. And yeah, other than that, thank you so much for being here. I really wish you happy holidays and an amazing 26, and I hope you guys will be here with me next year to get to know these amazing women and get inspired to just like follow your dreams and take your steps towards your goals and just living a better life according to your values, because this is what these stories are about for me, and I hope they are for you as well. And until next time, bye.